Hello, good morning. If you're on the West Coast, happy lunch. If you're on the East Coast, if you're in Europe, you're probably almost done with your workday. Hello to all of you. I have Madeline Schmidt with me today, and I met her at one of the HR networking events here in San Diego. And I was just blown away by her facilitation expertise. And as a coach, she created this really, really amazing session for HR leaders. She's the owner of the Monarch Training and Consulting and leadership development and training expert. So I am so excited to chat with you because I feel like I have someone who is like me today. Because usually I invite guests who are like very different just to give different expertise. So super excited. Thank you so much for joining me and being willing to have this conversation about bad bosses and good bosses.
My pleasure. I'm excited.
I know. So let's start with we kind of were chatting a little bit behind the scenes because that's what we do. If you're a guest on my show, you're going to get a lot of goodies behind the scenes. And then we have to stop ourselves and be like, okay, don't talk about this. Let's talk about it when we go live. But let's talk about some examples of bad bosses that you had either had or witnessed through your work.
Absolutely. Well, I've witnessed the gamut, that's for sure. And, I just want to kind of couch it in. I really truly believe that the bad bosses have positive intentions, right? I think very few wake up in the morning just cannot wait to be a bad boss, right? I think they think they're doing what they should be doing, and it's just maybe sometimes not landing well, right? So, whether that's, for example, I've seen a lot of people really hesitate to give developmental and growth related feedback to
Yeah.
their teams. And again, it's not coming from a bad place. It's really coming from a fear, right? It's coming from a fear of I really want you to like me. I don't want to have that tough conversation. I don't want to demotivate you, right? So what we end up doing, the bad bosses, is prioritizing their own needs of being liked, self-worth, whatever it is,
Yeah.
over the needs of their team. And so again, they're walking around thinking that we're best friends, they like me, but really they are stunting their ability to really be their best selves.
And
So
what did you see the impact of that behavior was?
yeah, so I hear it from their teams. That again, they're kind of feeling they're in a good place, and their teams are very frustrated because they're unclear of what's expected of them. They don't feel like they are able to get what they need for success. They don't feel like they're growing in their career, which when you look at the recent studies out there, career growth and development is the number one factor right now for engagement and retention, actually above flexible workplace, which was kind of, the hot topic for a while. And
Yeah.
so they're not feeling like they're getting that. And it's frustrating for them. And they don't feel like they're able to truly contribute the
Yeah.
best they can.
And it's so funny that you mentioned that yesterday I was preparing for a conference and I was doing some research. Again, I'm always like, why do people quit? Why do people quit? Like, how do we retain talent? And it is true that actually development and career progression is even more important than compensation. And I think a lot of managers kind of say that, well, they just want more money. They quit because they wanted more money. And I'm like, that's such a lazy answer. Because if I have an opportunity to grow, and sometimes it's not even money, but can I have exposure to big clients?
Right.
Can I showcase my like expertise on a project that is like a stretch goal for me that I don't think I can do, but you saw something in me and you pushed me? I mean, as human beings, we all want progression. It's like if you think of relationships, right? Why do people break up? Because at some point, often women, I was just watching my little TV of an ultimatum. Often women say, hey, are we going to get married or are we going to break up? Like, what's the
Right.
progression? And
Right.
same goes for careers.
You
Yeah.
want to feel like you're moving towards something.
Yeah.
And even if that's you're not looking to change roles, you can still grow within
Yeah.
your role,
What do you
right?
feel like?
And I would say I love your response there. Compensation's a lazy response. It is. It's a crutch so that as a leader, I don't have to take any accountability, right, for that person leaving because I don't have full control over their compensation. You can
Yeah.
always make money somewhere else. Anyone can. You always can. So while of course it could play a role, it's typically not the only reason someone's leaving, and it's typically not the primary driver of someone
Exactly.
leaving.
And
So,
and people that are actually staying would tell me, you know what, I could make more money, but
mhm,
what I love is my team. I love the clients we work with. I love the work that I get to do. So yeah, I don't buy into that. There's a very small percentage that is driven by money because at this point, like a lot of people already shifted and changed and had experience working in different companies and are really I know for myself when I work with leaders and executive coaching and one-on-one meetings, we have a lot of conversations around equipping someone and encouraging someone to do something they don't feel ready to do yet.
mhm,
My coaching always starts with like, what was the best leader you had? And they will always, always, and I don't know if that's your experience, would say, they saw my potential before I saw it.
yes. Yes, absolutely.
They took a
Because we
chance.
have fears, right, of kind of jumping into the unknown, right? If we're in
Yeah.
the workplace and we have a job to do, it's really scary to jump into something that I don't know how to do, right? Because I know I'm going to fail, right? I don't know what I'm doing. And I want to look good. I want to look good. And I don't think I'm capable, imposter syndrome, all the things, right? But if
And
you
then
have
it goes back to
leaders,
your boss, where it's like,
mhm,
oh, and if you fail, that's going to look bad on me too.
right,
So let's not take a chance. I know
right,
Mary has always done this presentation. She's done it for 15 years. And let's
right,
just keep sending Mary to do the presentation. Because what
absolutely.
would they say and think? I'm like, ugh, like this is my soapbox. I'm like, no. So which brings us to like competences. You and I started chatting a lot, and I mean, it's a hard place to be in right now with artificial intelligence and how work environment is changing. But also, someone like us, I feel like it's also interesting
Yes.
because every like 6 months, like new things pop up. And what are you seeing now after the pandemic, after the Great Resignation, with the introduction of Chat GPT and all of these changes? Where now they're saying, oh, it's now employers' market again because a lot of people have been laid off. What are some core competences that you think are important to develop in leaders right now?
Okay. So, there's always this, the kind of basic foundation, but there definitely are some that seem to be cropping up more, just as, you mentioned the environment and situation changes. So I feel like very strongly, and there's been a big shift in the workplace, especially since the pandemic, where now there are whole people showing up to work, right? Before we were just work people. Now we're whole people
So
that
annoying. Why
are,
are they bringing their whole selves to
I
work?
know, which is really fantastic because if I can show up as a whole person, I am much more likely, right, to thrive and put my
Yeah.
best out there. But now leaders have to figure out how to lead whole people. And for many, that's challenging, right? Because it brings in feelings and motivation and things like that. And it's a whole nother skill set
Yeah.
to be able to really support that. And, I'm not talking about leaders being therapists or getting too involved in their personal lives. We're not talking about that, but it's skills such as empathy, understanding flexibility, right? Really understanding where someone's coming from. And as a leader, meeting people where they are, right? Within a course reason, of course, but not just being like, here's my team, here's how I lead, adapt, but recognizing that each person is really individual. They are showing up as a whole
Yeah.
person. The more you understand what makes that person tick, the more that you can grow, develop, motivate, inspire, which is a huge component of
Yeah.
human performance, right?
Yeah.
So that might be new or maybe not as prioritized, if you
Mhm.
will, in the past, right?
Yeah, because
So
we yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say, yeah, again, we have a lot of research around engagement, right? And we know now that leave your personal life at home, it just doesn't work. It's
No.
like it doesn't. So I agree with you that so many leaders now and finding that balance again, right? This is like the challenging because it's like we started with I don't want to be your best friend and like and like walking right that line where it's like I care about you. I deeply care about you. I want to support you in your role. And we have accountability and work to get done.
Yes.
And I think that gets confusing for a lot of people. It's how how can I have this empathy and
Right.
still keep you accountable?
Absolutely, Anya. And the most important word that you said there, it's the smallest word, it's the and.
Mm,
And I think a lot of times as leaders, we get caught in or thinking.
yeah,
Either I'm super supportive and compassionate, or I'm holding my team accountable and driving for results. And it's a false choice.
yeah.
And the best leaders find the and in there. Those we can actually do both. And in fact, if you're doing both, both are going to be the most successful,
Mhm.
right? Because compassionate empathy doesn't work with accountability driving for results, right? And driving results doesn't work well if you ignore the human factor. So
Yeah.
I think it's that kind of constant pursuit of and then layer in, I mean, we've always had change, right? Change has always been a thing, but I'm finding right now with my clients that change and there's just too much to do, not enough resource to do it, not enough time. And where I find people are really struggling and where the leader's role really comes into play is helping people prioritize. And really, if everything's important, then nothing is. So how do
Yes.
we help people stay aligned with what the expectations are and how those expectations change on a daily basis,
Yeah.
right?
I'm curious about kind of your expertise because I know you do a lot of work with that. What happens when there's very strong accountability and not enough empathy?
Mm, yeah. So you don't get the results, right? So you're going to see perhaps burnout, right? Because people again are not necessarily working on all the right things. They're not comfortable asking the questions, seeking clarification, right? Sharing obstacles,
Yeah.
challenges. So because of this, lack of empathy or human focus.
Yeah.
And they're going to do the best they can, kind of scrape together those results, but at some point they're going to burn out, right?
Yeah.
They're not able to really, they don't even understand the why they're doing what they're doing in many of those cases, right?
Totally. And we started in the beginning when we talked about bad bosses, right? The boss that doesn't have empathy and skills and kind of runs in that fear environment,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like people can only go under punishment for so long, like you said, until they collapse. And also, like there's so much work to be done the way I see. I'm like, am I leading from my ego and
Right.
threat? And then the same goes for employees. Now my employees are feeling threat because again, if it's just results and accountability, I am like running on all cylinders, but in the wrong direction. And
Right.
it's like I don't even have time to stop and kind of like prioritize and sit down with you. So I think that's another competency as we see. It's like that motivation, right? And confidence and competence. Can you speak a little bit about that and maybe how can leaders help their people develop that?
Yeah. Yeah, like kind of those intangibles. So when you think about human performance, right? There's obviously their competence. Clearly, right? I know what to do. The other aspect of human performance is my motivation and my confidence, right? Those two things are so key. Now, ultimately, those are both feelings. And as a person, I own those feelings. But as a leader, if I am really aware and in touch with that, I can really help support, right? Those feelings coming into play. And you think about it. I mean, think about anything that you are doing really successfully. You're motivated and you're confident, right?
Yeah. And where did
So
I get that confidence from, right? To think that I am worthy of taking this risk.
I'm worthy. Yeah, exactly. And so again, it's those people skills. And a big part of that I find probably one of the most undervalued competencies, but I think probably one of the most important when it comes to what we're talking about is listening. Listening. I find most leaders think they're good listeners, but in reality are not. What happens is we just take turns talking and I'm saying my point of view, my opinion, my thought, what's happening for me, the other person does. And we just kind of ping pong,
Yeah.
whereas a leader can just hold back on having to give direction, be the hero, right? Just listen, right? When someone says something, explore it, try to understand a little bit more, ask questions, acknowledge what you're hearing, resist that urge to be the leader and jump
Yeah.
in with the magic solution. You'll learn so much about your people. right? And where they're coming from. So that can give you, right, all those insights to truly help
Yeah.
support people when it comes to those feelings.
I love that. And I think listening is, to me, a big part of coaching, right? Because
Mhm.
what you're speaking is coaching. It's like coaches allow and ask, listen and ask really good questions. When we talk about listening in training sessions, I like to talk about, what are you listening for?
Right,
Just, I'm listening, I'm here, I'm listening. But as a leader, what are you listening for?
right,
Limiting beliefs? Where am I feeling like a victim? Where do I feel like I can't, or I would never do that? Or where am I feeling like, it's an unfair treatment? Or where, like, you're constantly, or like, what motivates you? What are your values? I can say, like, oh, I had such a great weekend. My partner and I went on this hike. We're on top of the mountain. Like, it was so, like, there was so much adventure. As a coach, I'm like, ooh, adventure is important to them.
right,
They
right,
love, like, going on the edge. They love taking risk, right?
right.
So how can I create that environment for them at work? That's what I'm
Exactly.
listening for.
Exactly. And listening requires curiosity. I think a lot of times when we're quote listening, like you said, we don't even know what we're listening for because we're kind of busy formulating our own response to,
Yeah.
right, when that person stops talking because we want to look good, we want to look pure competent, we want to look like we're a leader with all the answers, right? Whatever's kind of getting in the way for us there, rather than just
Mhm.
sitting back and realizing you can add so much value by listening, right? Where people feel understood, there's information in there you can use to help support them to be their best. And it builds that trusting relationship.
But it takes a leader, right, not to act out of threat to their competence. Because most
Uh-huh.
of them don't feel the need to add, where I can sit
Yeah.
back. And we all know, like, people are more willing to do and perform when they come up with solutions versus me. I always think, like, to me,
Right.
leadership is like parenting. Like,
It is.
it's like being a mother of like two teenage children. Like, honestly, I have kids and like who are 15 and 16. If you tell them what to do, they'll never do it. But if you listen and coach them and guide them, they're like, oh my God, I came up with it. I'm
Their
gonna do
idea. Yeah.
it.
Especially teenagers.
That's a great idea, right? And another piece of it is like confidence and competence. Again, think about your children. Are they
Mhm.
gonna fail? Yes.
Mhm.
That is my role as a parent, to keep pushing them forward, building skills and competence and confidence, and kind of like picking them up when they fall down and like getting them back up and keep pushing them
Right.
out of the house. Yes, it is. So it's like,
Absolutely.
if you think of like being a good boss, it's kind of like, imagine these are your children. You care about them, but you're not going to do everything for them.
Right. Right. And you mentioned, Anya, I love what you said of they're going to fail and you pick them up when they fall down.
Yeah.
And of course, right, that's what a parent's going to do. And I think that's something to think about from a leadership perspective because sometimes the way organizations are structured, you don't pick them up when they fall down, right? They're slapped on the wrist, right? You're now sitting giving feedback, right? Which again could feel like disciplinary, right? Or your performance review is going to suffer, right? It's kind of like,
Yeah.
what are the systems we have in place that actually prevent us from doing just that? Because if there is consequence to failure, then people aren't going to push themselves.
No, why would I? I'm just gonna play safe here and get my bonus.
Right.
Like, what am I,
Exactly.
crazy? Am I mad? Why would I take a risk if I'm gonna be reprimanded for that? So that
Mhm.
kind of goes back. So to summarize, because I'm looking, we're at 19 minutes. Uh,
We could
some
talk
of
all day.
the I know, I know. I always say, I'm like, we had like a 5 hour kind of like Oprah show where it's like 5 hours, we sit down, we talk, and then we can cut pieces. But I think this was, I thought this was great. I don't know, like the audience will give us some feedback. But some of the competencies, if you're looking to develop, right, when we're talking about leadership skills, I've heard about ability to care enough about people to give them candid feedback and grow them. For the sake of what? I'm giving you feedback because I care about you. I want you to grow. I want you to be better. We talked about listening and coaching skills. It's like, again, empathy, get to know your people, learn what motivates them. And I think it's like the humility piece that,
Mhm.
again, is more like, I don't know. I feel like that's where you have to do your inner work on, like, am I leading out of my ego and out of threat, or am I leading because I want to grow other people?
Right.
Is
Right.
that would that be a good summary of what we
I
talked
think that's
about?
a great summary. Yeah. And those, I mean, those things are not easy, right? And like you said, it requires that inner work,
Yeah,
coaching, focus, and there's an intentionality,
yeah,
right? I think by nature, a lot of us might do some of these things, but are we consistently doing that effectively and efficiently? Because we don't have all the time in the world, right?
yeah,
That's where we can really master this.
yeah.
There definitely has to be intentionality behind it.
And I think for people who are listening, if you're inside organization, you're like, great advice. How do I do that? A couple of places to look is really, and a lot of clients are coming to me right now, revamping their performance management. If you have
Okay.
an outdated performance management, like, what are you rewarding people for? What types of behaviors are okay and not okay? So that would be first place for you to look. And again, Madeline and I, we both consult. We are HR business partners. We can come in, look at our performance management. A lot of it is a training all of your supervisors. And I think part of it is really one-on-one coaching. When
Mhm.
it comes to feeling a threat, when it comes to competence, when it comes to humility, I I'm gonna say something controversial. It's really hard to build in a group environment because it's very individual.
Yeah.
That's where I
I
think
feel the same.
coaching, one-on-one coaching can really play a role because we're like, okay, we only have budget for, like, Anya, 90 minutes, 25 people, teach them how to do this. And I'm like, okay, I'm on it. Let's do it. But
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
really, like, again, if it's important to you, allow space and time for
Yes.
leaders to grow those muscles
The deeper work. Mhm.
for deeper work.
Yes.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you.
chatting with you. Let's do it again soon.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing your expertise, your talents. I will tag you in the video, and hopefully, yeah, go.
Okay.
Let's go help some clients be better
Let's do
leaders.
it. Let's do it.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so much.